Hello, my name's Jake Thornton. I'm a professional screenwriter and aspiring author, and I wanted to continue my series of videos and talks about how to navigate the emotional ups and downs of the screenwriting business, and kind of as I step into the publishing industry too, which is very different, and I'm discovering that. There was a screenwriter on Twitter named Loy A. Webb. And it caught my attention last week. I actually retweeted it. And what she said was, as a writer, so much of our process is in the dark. The figuring out an idea, outlining, writing, a million rewrites. Therefore, you must find joy and fun in the process. If you are just waiting for the deadline article or screen credit, this work is going to be miserable for you. And it really spoke true to me, because one of the things I've been thinking a lot about lately is the process and actually the work of being a screenwriter or an author. And that you have to find joy in that. You have to find joy in your work. It sounds obvious. You know, obviously one wants to write and create things that are coming from you, and wants to get them. You want to get them out on screen or out published, but there's only so much that you can control. There's only so much that you are actually kind of directing. And the reality is that all you are in charge of is what you do when you are actually writing. That's all you have control over. And that can be really hard, because it does so often feel like we're out of control. Our lives are out of control. Our lives are dependent on the approval of other people. But if we are actually enjoying that work and we are finding joy in the process of that work, then, of course, yes, we need paychecks, we need to feed our families. Yes, that is beneficial. But the goal's already been reached, because the goal actually is the process. And it's just a kind of interesting way of kind of observing that. I was doing some reading this morning. As many of you know, I'm a Nichiren Buddhist, and I was doing some studying while I was chanting today. This is from the Wisdom of the Lotus Sutra, which is a kind of series of conversations and lectures on a sutra that the Buddha preached. But in it, one of the people who works for the study department of our Buddhist organization, Mr. Endo, quotes Wolfgang von Goethe. And Goethe said, "It is not enough to take steps which may someday lead to a goal. Each step must be itself a goal, and a step likewise." And I just really loved that, because again, it's just talking about the fact that each day that we get up and challenge ourselves with the blank page or the rewrite, or whatever it is that we're working on, that is not just a step, that is also the goal. We are being writers, we are being creatives when we tackle that moment and win in that moment. And so I think it's really about, as that Twitter user said, to find great joy in the daily work of writing. And I think we've absolutely all had moments where we're just in flow, and it's all happening so wonderfully and seamlessly, and it's all just coming out of us, and it's just so wonderful and amazing. And we've experienced that joy of creating something from nothing. And that's what being a writer is, should be, can be, if we let ourselves do that. If we're not so focused on the end result, but we're focused instead on what we're putting in. Can we be input oriented as opposed to output oriented? I forget the name of the book. It was all about creating a schedule for your day. I think it's called Indistractable. The book was Indistractable. But one of the things it talks about is, can you be input oriented as opposed to output oriented? So rather than saying, I'm going to write 6 pages today, and I'll only be happy if I achieve that goal, can it be, I'm going to write for 3 hours today? One is about what you're putting in, the other is about what you're getting out. But I think just kind of that subtle shift makes you go, well, if I've done 3 hours of good work, whether I've written 3 amazing pages or 6 incredible pages or 10 whatever it is, it doesn't matter because you've ultimately succeeded in your goal of writing for a set amount of time. Likewise, obviously if it's, I really want to sell a screenplay, well, again, a lot of that is out of your control. The only thing that you're in control of is what you are producing in the moment, on the page. And that's going to get fueled by your joy and your creative passion. If your mind is constantly thinking about the end product and the end of it all, how can you 100% be devoted to what's in front of you in that moment? So I've just been thinking about that a lot this week. I have been working on a spec screenplay, and I've been working on my kind of second major novel, which I'm just over about halfway through. And I've been doing writing sprints every day. So I tend to do 3 one-hour writing sprints on my screenplay in the morning. And in the afternoon, I do 2 one-hour sprints on my book. And it's been a really great way of doing it. I've also been writing by hand, which is something I've not done a huge amount of in the past. And that's been really interesting. One of the things that is so interesting for me, experiencing writing by hand, is weirdly, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like writing. And that's really disconcerting. But I just sit down and I set a timer and I just write. And I'm not even really editing while I'm going. I might make some little notes in the margins if I think something could get improved upon. But obviously, when you've written something by hand, there's no delete key. I can cross things out, obviously, but there's no going back and changing it. And the first draft of my screenplay is coming out of me so quickly. It's going to need a ton of work, and that's great. But it's just flowing out of me at such a pace. It's been really enjoyable. And again, focusing on the writing sprints has been a really fascinating idea. 1 hour. What do you do then? Go make myself a cheeky cup of tea, go and play a video game for 10 or 15 minutes, come back, jump back into it again. Focused hour of work, 15 minutes off, focused hour of work, lunch. And then that's my screenwriting day. And the same thing in the afternoon with my writing work on my novel. And being input oriented, at the end of the day, I feel so satisfied that I've written that day. And it has not been about what has come out, but about what I've put in. And because that's the process, it's also strangely the outcome at the same time, if that kind of makes some kind of weird sense. And at the end of it, I'll have a screenplay and I'll have a book. But it hasn't been driven by, I'm writing a screenplay, I'm writing a book. It's been driven by, I'm writing for an hour. I'm writing for an hour. I'm writing for an hour. Years ago, when I was working on the very first draft of my novel, I felt so daunted and scared to even start the novel because it felt like such a huge amount of work. And a friend of mine said, he was talking about a mountain climber. This was a quote from some mountain climber, and I don't know who, because it was years ago. But they were talking about the fact that no one stands at the foot of a mountain and goes, I'm going to climb that mountain. Because you can't climb a mountain. It's almost impossible. In fact, it might not have been a mountain. I think it was a long-distance runner. But anyway, all you can focus on is running or walking for the next 10 minutes, for the next minute. What's happening to you right now? Can you do 10 minutes of running? Can you do 10 minutes of climbing? Whatever that is. And at the end of it, as a side effect of walking for 10 minutes, lots of times you've climbed a mountain, you've done the long distance running. So I really just like those analogies of, can you just be input oriented as opposed to thinking about the whole finished product at the end. Anyway, that's what I've been dwelling on this week. I'm off to London this evening with my family. So anyway, let me know if this was helpful to you. And if it wasn't, that's fine too. Anyway, have fun creating whatever it is you're creating. Find the joy in the process, because otherwise it's going to be a difficult time. Have a great day.